Hey, give me 1 second. Let me finish this Facebook post real fast. You can
Yeah,
s-
no, I'd love to wait for you. I'd love to
you can
wait
s-
for you while you're completely unfocused and being a terrible friend
you can
as we
just yeah, just
try to do a podcast episode to, add value to our listeners and potentially make our lives better.
hold on. There's an Instagram
Yeah, I'll
reel that
wait.
I'm gonna
I'll wait.
check on real fast.
How about you just go on mute? And I think most of our listeners would prefer that anyways, and just stay on mute the whole time, and I'll just do this episode by myself. Does that sound good?
Let me just take a picture of
You're
this
so
real
dumb, dude.
fast.
Nobody's listening anymore. They hate you.
Oh, okay. What's up, bud?
Um,
How you doing?
Dude, I am great. There is a, I just want to share this. I mean, this is a real talk, so we definitely can't go into the hour plus conversation we had this week with this question, but I want to present the question, and there's a couple different contexts, and I think they're very powerful to at least consider. This week in the Kinetic Man Mastermind, we talked about we've been talking about going through habits and really digging deeper into the idea of the habits truly supporting and helping us to become the man that we want to become, and a big step in that is understanding the man that we want to become, right? Like who we want to be in the context of spiritually, mentally, physically, relationally, like all these different areas of our life, and defining success in that, and then building habits that support that person that we want to become. One of the things that we focused on was just this month from a habit perspective is cell phone use, and we often talk about this, but we asked this question. It was more set up to be like a Socratic type discussion, and the prompt was consider your cell phone use, and does it make you a better or worse man, right? And I mean, there's there's no bias, there's no assumption in the question or the prompt. It just is what it is, and we're like, hey, go, like, let's have a conversation. And it was fascinating to me, and dude, the stuff that came out of that, of course, that like always happens, super powerful, super impactful, some very high joy, there's some sadness, there's all kinds of things, but I think just considering John Mark Comer, I listened to a podcast recently where he talked about uh, I forgot who he referenced, but the person he referenced asked about like TV and show watching. Does this activity, he said what changed his life is he always asked, does this activity bring me closer to God? And so does this show, watching this show, is this the content of this show? Uh, does my cell phone use, what I'm about to do with my cell phone, do these activities bring me closer to God? And if you're not a God believing individual, do these activities bring me closer to the person I want to become? That is valid for anybody to ask that question.
Yeah.
And so the cell phone question was fascinating to me. What came out of that, because of course it's not black or white, right? It's a gray, but in that gray lives the power and the specifics of what it is you do and why you do it, and if it's benefiting you as a human being.
Yeah, dude, it made me think about the book that we're reading as a collective group inside the mastermind, The Common Rule. And the Common Rule, Justin Whitmiller earlier talks a lot about your habits becoming formation, forming you to be the person that you want to become. And if you're a believer, if you believe in God and Jesus, and you want to become more like Jesus, like there are some habits, there are some things that you should be doing to form you become like Jesus, like becoming the way of Jesus. And um, if you think about your habits and becoming a formation of who you want to become, you can look at all that also that as like your the way that you handle things, the way that you do your habits is a way of worship, right? And he calls them liturgies. And so are you using your cell phone to scroll your social media, to look for your heartsease and likesies because you need that dopamine hit? And that's a way of formation, and that's a way of of you looking for a worship opportunity? Are you worshiping the hearts and the likes on a regular basis? Are you worshiping the idea that you always have to be on and, immediate response to any text message or phone call? Are you worshiping the idea of watching YouTube videos on whatever? Like, there's a lot of things that like you use your cell phone for um, to form yourself to be the person that you want to be, and like that could be either good or bad. And in the discussion, we talked about the cell phone being a tool, but the way you use that tool can have some massive impact, not only on yourself but on other people. I mean, we talked about texting and driving a lot, and like you said, there was an amazing story that was very powerful. Um, and I thought to myself, like, well, I know I shouldn't be texting and driving, but I know I do it, and I know I do it with like my kids in the back, and so I'm basically modeling that behavior for my children. And I'm going to tell my children that they shouldn't be texting and driving when they become 16, but they just saw their dad do it for the last, 10 years of their life. Like, that's pretty impactful. And that really makes me think about changing that habit and, forming the type of person that I want to be and also the type of people I want my children to be.
Yeah. And I think it doesn't always have to be, it's not a negative thing, right? I think
No.
what's super powerful about habits, if you do it the right way, is that you start with the end in mind. And so I would encourage anybody, if you did that, well, if you took action and created the vision of who you want to become, and that was a big part of what you did this year, like I think that's amazing. Now, if you don't tie action items to that and try to move that ball forward, then you effectively fall on the New Year's resolution goal person, which we're recording this on the 26th, which is 10 I think 10 days after the national uh your resolutions go out the door day, which I think was on the 17th. But ultimately, if you're able to define and to really create what that person looks like and backwards plan the habits to support that, then you're being very intentional and you're moving out of the realm of being reactive. So like if I have decided that I am the dude that doesn't text when I drive, I've decided that because that doesn't that's not the man I wanted to become for whatever reasons that are important to you, the whys behind that. Well, then when I get in the car and when a text comes in, like I've already made the decision. Or you do the do not disturb, or you do the whatever driving mode, or whatever it is you do, you've already made a decision to move towards that person you want to be. And that's a positive thing. You're not always reactionary. So like I love to get out of the reactionary life, right? If we I mean, and it's simple, it's fun stuff too. Like I know, and people around us know, on Thursdays we're gonna like be doing something fun. Like it just is what it is. A good example too. Like I'm trained. I hit up a guy, Mike Brown. He's going to be on a future podcast episode with us. But I also know, like he's someone that I love hanging out with. I know on Thursdays that dude, we don't work together. We're not like he's just a buddy a man that I admire. I know on Thursday mornings and Thursdays, like he's not going to come play with us because he has a meeting of very high caliber individuals that he meets with, and they go through I've never done this with them. Mike, if you're listening, I'd like to be invited, but they do like their hot cold plunges and they do a workout and they talk business. Like I know that because that's so important to him as part of his life. He's already determined, he's already decided what that Thursday is going to look like. And I'm not, that's not to be interrupted. You and I are going to go do something fun. It's not to be interrupted. We have no meetings scheduled on Thursdays. Right. And so it can be, there's so many positive things. You just make the decision beforehand, you create a habit, you honor that habit, and you become the person you want to become. So if you don't want to be the dad that texts and you get in a car accident and end up, hurting yourself or others or your family or whatever, then you just make that decision. It's an easy decision. I'm just not going to be that guy. Done. Right. I'm going to be the guy that works out in the morning. Cool. Do that. I'm going to be the person that reads the Bible every day. Sweet. Done. Right. These things are like, they're so empowering. It's just intentional. We just don't think that way a lot of times. Instead, we set New Year's resolutions. I'm going to lose 15 pounds. There's no basis. There's no why. There's no power to it. And then you're done by January 17th. Most likely you haven't lost 15 pounds.
Yeah, man. There's absolutely some. I didn't want to go all to the negative on the cell phone use. There's some amazing positives to it too, right? Just to be able to connect with people. I mean, one thing I've tried to start doing is just I have it on my calendar now. Is just to send a text message to a couple of people that are on my mind, once a day. And that's a really positive thing, like the way that you can communicate to people. My sister and brother-in-law and their family like lived over in Southeast Asia, and we could use the cell phone to like FaceTime, right? And like video talk to them from across the world. I think that's really, really cool. So I think it's a super positive thing that you can have, to use with your cell phone. It's just, yeah, making the decision to use the tool appropriately, just like money, right? Money is a tool. If you use it appropriately, it could be a great thing. It could be very rewarding and stewarding God's resources. So it's an interesting conversation, man. I really enjoyed it. We're gonna plan on doing more of these like Socratic type conversations and just asking hard questions. And there's a lots of different opinions, and none of them are right or wrong. It just opens your mind and it makes you better.
Well, and it also gets you, last point, it gets you out of black and white, dude. Life is not black and white.
That's right.
If you can honestly say, "Oh, cell phone makes me a better man," period. Okay, really? Okay, but it's an indicator of how you look at life,
Yeah.
right? It's an indicator of how you look at life. And if everything to you is uh, Democrat, Republican, uh, black, white, Jesus believer, agnostic. If all these things are just it is this or it is this, and everything is bipolar, and everything is very partisan in your life, politics and not like then you are definitely in a cycle of non-critical thinking, and the worst part of that is you're delusional about yourself, right? And that's a sad place to be. So like being intentional, and it's very freeing to be like, oh man, like there's actually quite a few people in my circle that I disagree with and I love them dearly. Like, huh, that's interesting. Yeah, the cell phone is a positive and a negative. The power of that is, okay, I want to maximize the positive and minimize the negative because now I know I'm self-aware of it. Like, let's do something about it. Or I choose to do nothing about it, and then you're at least making a choice to rob yourself of power or to live in a negative, right? Like you're making a choice, and that's even empowering too. So, dude, I love it. Love it. Great conversation. We
Yes,
should
sir.
challenge each other more with these hard discussions and ultimately grow from them. And dude, become the men that we want to become the women that we want to become, and really to also model that, to be like, think about your boys in 10 years, and they're like, I want to be like my dad. Oh, oof, that would be powerful. My daughter being like, I respect that man my dad is. You potential boyfriend or husband, you just don't. A standard's been set for me. That'd be powerful.
Good.
Giddy up, giddy up.
Buckle up, Buttercup.
Go back to your Facebooks and your
No,
Insta
don't do that.
lives.
Don't do that.
You're no, I'm telling you now. You're dismissed to
Oh,
go
oh,
get your
thanks.
heartsies and your thumbs ups and your
I need it, man. I need it.
smiley
It's like a drug.
dopamine.
Ugh.
Love you.
Bye.
Peace.